So I didn't start having man crushes until like the 90s, but I was born in the 70s, so that kind of makes sense, the late 70s. But through the magic of the internet, I have discovered the men of the 50s and the 60s. And so this is a list of the top 10 guys, actors from the 50s and 60s that could get it. I'm gonna get into it. Give me a like while the intro plays. I'll begin with a disclaimer just saying that this list has nothing to do with their actual talent or movies they've been in or any of that, because to be honest with y'all, I haven't seen most of the movies or any of the movies that most of the guys on this list have been in. Again, this is before my time. This list is also in no specific order, even though I'm going to save number one for last, as I should. So George Chakiris, which many of you don't know, is my number 10. He's one of the very few whose movie I've actually seen, or his big movie, which was West Side Story. He might have been my first man crush because of this movie. He played Bernardo. It was the first Puerto Rican representation that I saw on the big screen. I fell in love with him, even though he's Greek in real life. I think, first off, he's obviously attractive, and he did a really good job at portraying a Puerto Rican. I know there's this specific part in the movie where he's like just saying Anita's full Hispanic name.
Anita, Josefina,
no, it's plain Anita now. No, you leave me alone. At least I let.
Yeah, he was just really sexy and confident and strong and brotherly. Like, he was really masculine. I fell in love with the character.
Stop it!
She's given up Puerto Rico and now she's queer for Uncle Sam.
Oh no!
So Anita might have gone queer for Uncle Sam, but I got queer for George Chakiris for sure. He could get it. Okay, next on the list is Gene Kelly. And here's the deal. I knew that Gene Kelly was a dancing actor, but for some reason, I always confused him with Fred Astaire. Like, I thought it was the same person. I thought whenever I heard of specific movies that either of them were in, I just thought of Fred Astaire, who's not on this list, by the way. He just isn't. Like, Singing in the Rain, some of you, all of us know this song, right? It's a classic song, and it keeps coming up in different commercials and movies, and you just see clips of that Singing in the Rain scene. And again, I thought it was Fred Astaire. It wasn't until someone just said something about, oh, that's not Fred, that's Gene Kelly. And I remember thinking, like, who's Gene Kelly? So I had to look him up, and then I saw pictures of him. I'm like, whoa. And then here's the thing, that Singing in the Rain has always been that clip.
I'm singing in the rain.
I love the dancing. I love the acting. He was so freaking cute. But again, you're never really getting up close during that time, right? So I loved all of that, and then now having this close up, seeing these images of Gene Kelly, yeah, that did it for me. I was singing in my jeans for you, Kelly. You could get some. Oh, okay, all right, who's next? Next is James Dean. Everyone has seen the iconic photo from Rebel Without a Cause. I saw it. I remember thinking, this is a cute dude, but he just wasn't like ringing any alarms for me. Fast forward to 90210, okay, because Luke Perry, his character Dylan, kind of had that James Dean vibe going on, and I fell in love with it. Like, with Dylan, fell in love with the character, like Luke Perry's voice and just the whole vibe, and knowing that he was kind of inspired by James Dean, that kind of put him on the map, James Dean on the map for me, thinking like, okay, I love Dylan and he's portraying, or he's emulating him, so that makes sense. And then even later on with Clueless, where you had Christian, who's also inspired by that James Dean look.
1 hour yesterday and observed 5
Nice stems.
weeks.
This might have been what did it for me, because Christian's character in Clueless ends up being gay.
It's time for your oral.
Excuse me?
I was thinking the same thing, Cher. That was kind of like this bridge of me looking at James Dean in a different way. So I did my research, and he was more than just that iconic photo. The more photos that I saw of him, the more I just got interested in him, like, and thinking like, wow, this was a hot ass dude back then. Like, I don't know, he was so confident in the photos that he took, where he wasn't really trying to fit this prototype of what masculinity was. He just was. He was so confident and self-assured in himself, and that is timeless. So not only did it ring through back then, I'm sure, but it rings through to this day, looking at those photos. Because like, even his body, like, he didn't have the most built body, but he still carried himself as if he did. Like, he had that level of confidence. And yeah, like, he was so innovative in his style, in his persona, and that, just learning that about him, super cool, super attractive. And yeah, call me rebel without a clue, because I didn't have a clue about you, James Dean, but now I do, and you could get to it. All right, next on the list is Rock Hudson. Now, keeping it real with y'all, my introduction to Rock Hudson was that he was the gay actor who died from HIV, or from AIDS. That's what I knew about him. That's what I think many people from my generation knew about him. I didn't grow up watching his films, of course, so that's how he made headlines. So from a gay history point of view, he meant something to me just because of that. I don't think he was out of the closet, but going through that kind of brought him out of the closet, and so he was a first, whether he wanted to or not, whether he planned on it or not. He was a trailblazer, not just from the AIDS part, but just being a gay actor. Like, that wasn't something that people were out about back then. Even though I think from what I've researched, a lot of the actors knew, a lot of the people in his circle knew about him, but it still was like something that to the masses they wanted to keep hush hush. And then going through this at that time, it kind of, the AIDS kind of outed him out, and so that's really all I knew about him. And that sucks, because in doing my research, first off, one of the things that I will say that gives everyone points from the 50s, 60s, and today is anyone who served in the military, in the Navy specifically. That's kind of one of the reasons why I joined. I love a Navy uniform on a dude, and so yeah, I think even Gene Kelly was in the Navy, if I remember correctly, but Rock Hudson was also in the Navy. And so I learned that, okay. Then I saw photos of him, like, wow, okay, I understand why he was a leading romantic man. This dude was hot. He was smoking, he actually was. And then the other thing, I found this clip of him dancing, and I've mentioned this in one of my other videos, but I am a sucker for like an awkward dancing dude, like a guy who can't dance. And so when I came across this clip, and then also the reason why I think he's kind of awkward looking in that dance is because he was 6'5", so he was a tall mamma jamma. So tall, Navy, gay, awkward dancing. You could get some, like, you giving me a Rock Hudson. All right, who's next? All right, the next one is Sidney Poitier, and here's the thing with him. I heard of him, of course, many a times, and I knew that Raisin in the Sun and Porgy and Bess, like, the impact that he had on American and international cinema. Sidebar moment, this is a clip of Whitney Houston singing I Love You, Porgy, just as a kind of proof that he actually did exude sex appeal in some of his roles. Maybe I didn't see it at the time, but it actually was there, so here goes. Porgy, deep inside me. Think the importance of him being who he was and taking these roles, that kind of surpassed the hotness. But in doing my research and coming across photos, what did I discover? Dude was freaking smoking. He was a hot guy. And so yeah, there's no raising, no shrinkage in this one here. Like, you could get some, Sydney. Yeah, you could. All right. And next is the one that I was like, I don't know if I'm going to add him to this list, but I have to keep it real, so he's going to be on the list, and it's Clark Gable. Now, I only know him from Gone with the Wind, and he's another exception of a movie that I've actually seen. I saw Gone with the Wind, and I don't think he was considered conventionally attractive even back then. Like, he had big ears, and his eyes were wide set. And another reason why I hesitated to put him on the list is because he was a conservative Republican, and most of the guys on this list were either liberals or Democrats, or even if they weren't outward with their politics, they did things, they supported things that they were showing tendencies of that. This dude was an exception as far as being very staunch conservative, and usually that's like a boner killer for me. Okay, a little bit of info. Like, John Wayne had said to multiple people, including his daughter, who included it in one of her books, that he said about Clark Gable, he's handsome, but he's dumb, but he's an idiot. So that makes me happy, that brings me joy, because that makes me think, okay, maybe he was just ignorant. Maybe had I been back there in those times, I could have spoken to Clark. I could have said, hey, so if we had a couple of drinks and just played a little feelsies behind the bleachers, would you care if the media found out? And if he said,
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I don't give a damn either, Clark. Shh, you can get some. There was something there from watching Gone with the Wind. I got it. I got why people liked him in that way, because I do too. All right, who's next? Paul Newman. Now this dude, okay, in my quest to try to be the most healthiest version of myself, for the last few years I have forced myself to eat salads. It's my thing now. I like salads, and part of it was trying to make salads interesting and finding good dressings. And so I came across the Paul Newman dressings. So I remember looking at the bottle and thinking, because he's older, he's a little bit older, his photo is on the bottle. I remember thinking, he's cute, for an older dude. This Paul Newman, I heard of him before, but didn't know much of anything else about him. But thinking, incentive to buy the dressing, and so I'm losing weight. Thank you, Paul, for that initial inspiration. But because of that, I have since researched Paul Newman, and wow, dude was freaking smoking. His eyes, the piercing blueness of his eyes was just amazing. His jawline was just wow. I will pay for your dressing, but I might even pay more for the undressing, Paul. What's up with that? You could get some all over the salad. We could toss some. No, I'm not gonna go there. All right, next on the list is the one and only Elvis Presley. Now, I know Elvis Presley. I knew what he looked like. I saw all of the photos of him younger. And here's the thing. Initially, I thought he was cute, but he didn't really do much for me. And it's because I knew his music, and all of the music that he released early on, that made him who he was, Hound Dog and Blue Suede Shoes and Jailhouse Rock and Heartbreak Hotel, all of these songs, these iconic songs, I was never really a fan of. I didn't think they went well with his voice. It wasn't until the later on stuff. My favorite song of Elvis Presley is actually his last #1 hit, which was Suspicious Minds. I love that song.
We're caught in a trap. We can't go on together with suspicious minds.
But there was something about his voice as he got older. There was a layer of manliness and experience. Showed a different side than that whole rock shaking the hip stuff that the rest of the world loved, but for me, no, it was that older version, and it was through me getting to know him through that, because again, like, I always knew that he sang those songs, but for some reason I kind of separated those two versions, even though it's all him, right? Even though he didn't age well, I'm just keeping it real. As he got older, his voice and his music to me aged like fine wine and got even better with time. So yeah, discovering that part of him and kind of connecting it to the younger side of him, then I was also able to go back and look at photos of him and think, okay, I get it. Like, I still wouldn't have been on the train back then, but putting the whole package of Elvis Presley together, not to mention this grilled cheese with the banana and that sandwich that he's known for with the bacon. Yeah. And what I did like about the older Elvis Presley is the hairy chest. I've mentioned this before, but I do like a guy with a hairy chest. So okay, you could be my teddy bear. So the next guy on my list, I actually asked my partner about, like, he recommended Burt Lancaster. And this was again, a name that I heard of before. Not often, not all the time, but didn't know much about him. When I looked up his photo, my first initial thought was, because some of you know this, but I tend to like, I like a darker men, like Italian, kind of tanned men. But I want to make clear that doesn't mean that anyone who's not that is excluded, first off, or secondly, is in a different tier, or, you know, I like who I like, and it could be anyone who looks like anything. Preference has nothing to do with liking you just as much, even if you're not that preference, if that makes any sense. So with Burt Lancaster, when I first looked at one of his photos, I was thinking, oh, he's blonde, not typically my type. But then I'm scrolling through looking at photos, I'm thinking like, wow, this dude is freaking smoking. Like, one thing that I will say, like, even though blondes aren't normally my thing, if it's a curly blonde like Ryan Phillippe in Cruel Intentions,
would you mind turning around so that I could put on my bathing suit?
I'm sorry.
another one with his chin, like his chiseled face, I'm gonna have to do some more research about him, because just the little bit that I did, you could get some blondie. Before I get to my number one, I'm gonna go through two honorable mentions. And the first one, this was just someone who I know nothing about. I just came across as I'm doing searches online to find out actors from the 50s and 60s. His name is Andres Garcia. Again, I don't know anything about him. I'm gonna have to do more research, but just in the photos that I saw, I'm like, oh my gosh. He's a Mexican born in Dominican Republic, so he's gonna have that Latin flair, but just physically, yeah, striking. Like, I'm gonna have to include this dude on my list somewhere, because he just caught me out of, by surprise, out of nowhere. The other thing about him is that I think he passed away, but he was 81 when he passed, but even older, still smoking. That's something that I can't say about many of the guys on this list. Andres, you could get some of this at any age. You're timeless. And the next honorable mention is for the bisexual parts of me. I have to throw in a female, and this is not even a second thought. Rita Hayworth. Like, didn't know much about her. Heard the name, but the first time I saw images of her, I'm like, wow, beautiful. I don't know what it is why I'm so drawn to her. What I will say is that many of the actresses back in the 50s and 60s were freaking like the natural beauty that I don't see much today. I miss that because they were strikingly beautiful. Dorothy Dandridge, like I could go on and on of just women who were beautiful. But as I mentioned, with the bisexual parts of me, there are just some women that just do it for me, and I can't really explain why. Dorothy Dandridge is one of them, but the number one on my list would be Rita Hayworth. And it wasn't later on until I realized that she has like Latin or Spanish roots, I think. So there is that flair, but I didn't know that at first. It was just really and even the redhead. Like I don't know. I don't even know. So when Madonna said this, yeah, she did. You could get some, Rita. Number one on my list is Marlon Brando. Now I'll say this. I heard of him many a times before. I knew he was like a sex symbol back in the day, but didn't really see any photos of him. My introduction to him was Doctor of Island Moreau. I don't know if you guys saw that movie, but he didn't look anything like he did back in the day. Like he did not age well. Sorry to say it. You know, I don't want to talk negatively about anyone, especially someone who's passed, but he's my number one. So, you know, I guess he can deal with it, right? Because he didn't age well. But that got me intrigued. Like, wait, this is the dude that everybody was talking about. Now, here's the thing. Guys and Dolls is one of my favorite musicals of all time. And in high school, I remember doing a number of Guys and Dolls, and that kind of started this whole thing of me loving the musical.
You gamble it here, you gamble it there, you gamble on everything all except me, and I'm sick of you keeping me up in the edge. You're back in the money again when I think of the time gone by.
That way.
And I look at the way I...
So years later, I decided to see the movie from back in the I think it's 1950s or 60s. But I saw it, and then that's when I saw this dude. I'm like, this is the most beautiful man I have ever seen in my life. Who is this dude?
A lady doesn't leave her escort. It isn't fair, it isn't nice. A lady doesn't wander all over the room and blow on some other guy's dice. So
And I saw the credits.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah. And of course, I'm looking at other photos of him and just, yeah. Like, I can't even, he doesn't have the most perfect chin, he doesn't have the most perfect eyes. Like, there's nothing about him that I would say is the most perfect. But it's just something about the combination of everything that he is. Physically, and the way he talks, and the way that he carries himself, and his swagger. Number one. Like, if I had to go back in a time machine and smash someone, I'm going back to the Guys and Dolls set. I'm looking for Marlon Brando, and you can get it. So that's my list. I'd love to know what your top 10 list of the actors from the 50s and 60s that could get some of yours. I want to know about it. Give me a like, subscribe would be even better, but most importantly, comment and let me know what your thoughts are on my list and on your list.